Hey, Ramblin' Ted here, coming at you today from downtown Hope, Arkansas. If you've never been to Hope and you're in the area, you should stop here. It's a really neat little town. A lot of music history here. But today, I'm here to talk to you a little bit about a guy who should have been a much bigger person in the music industry than he got to be, and he may be the first member of the what they call the 27 Club of people who passed away at the age of 27. I'm talking about a guy who wrote many songs that you've heard, but he's not a household name and should be. His name's Jesse Belvin. He was killed in a head-on car collision about 5 miles south of this town. Look at that, a Western home and auto store. You do not see that anymore. This town, it's like stepping into the past a little bit here. I love it. I think I'm going to walk down here to the train station. I drove by the spot where Jesse was killed. There's not much to see there, and I don't even know the exact location. I'll get into that in a little bit, but it's really hard to tell exactly where it happened. Some say 5 miles south, some say 6 miles south. There's not much out there. It's on Highway 67, which is aptly named the Rock and Roll Highway because so many people used to have to pass through and down that highway. Look at that sign, Tailgaters Burgers. Just talked to the lady who runs the museum here, and really nice lady. I thought I'd met her before, but I guess it was another woman that works here that I'd met. But pretty neat. They got this little car. This is the rail museum. I actually went inside it last time I was here. And then there's a kind of carts they'd haul stuff on, but that's just a neat little car. Guess it drives up and down. Could drive up and down the train tracks. I don't know if I'd want to ride in it, not if a train was coming. I don't think you could outrun it. Jesse Belvin was slated to be like the next Nat King Cole or Frank Sinatra. He was that good. He was very good friends with Etta James. And if you know anything about blues music or music in general, Hondas. That was some kind of a train car. I guess I picked the wrong spot to sit in. I thought it would be peaceful under here. All right. That's funny. Can't win. He was supposed to be like the next Nat King Cole. He was competing with like Frank Sinatra. He'd written several songs that he didn't even take credit for. That's what I get for doing a video from a train yard. I'm not sure what they're doing, but they're literally just driving these things back and forth. I guess they're checking the tracks or something. I don't know. There's like dozens of them. I wonder what they're doing. I guess it's work on the tracks day here in Hope. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can find myself a place a little quieter to talk about this, because my mind is scatterbrained anyway, and getting interrupted constantly by stopping and starting, I'm not going to be able to keep track of anything. I have a hard enough time with remembering my own name, let alone all these other people's names. So I have notes because there's a lot of names to remember and a lot of stuff to remember about this. I'm going to sit right here at this picnic table. A little quieter here. Windy though. Anyway, on the night of February 6, 1960, there was a concert in Little Rock, Arkansas, which is a few hundred miles from here. It was at the Robinson Auditorium. It was the first rock and roll show in 1960, and I believe the first desegregated concert held in Little Rock. Little Rock had just gone through the Little Rock 9, the whole desegregation of schools and everything there, and there was a lot of racial discontent going on. But anyway, they had this concert. Jackie Wilson, who was a famous singer and a friend of Jesse's, was playing. He was the headliner. Jesse just come out with the second album called Mr. Easy, which I listened to it on the way here, and it's got some good songs. I'm going to put a playlist of Jesse Belvin songs in the comments, so you guys can listen and hear what a talented and ahead of his time, really, songwriter he was. But anyway, that album was just about to come out. He was kind of low on the bill, but he was a rising star. Jesse, like I said, he didn't really take credit for a lot of the songs that he wrote, and because of that, he was missing out on money, basically. He'd married a girl named Joanne, and her name, of course, was Joanne Belvin. She was a little more swift with the money and decided to kind of take hold of his career, and he was just then starting to really reap the rewards of his hard work. I mean, for a guy who was only 27 years old, he'd written a ton of songs already, a lot for other people. He'd had hit songs with several groups that he was in, and kind of been cheated out of his money a lot. So him and his wife were kind of a power couple for the time. She was only 25 years old, but very, very savvy. And like I said, he was good friends with Etta James, who had the great song "I'd Rather Go Blind," which Chris Stapleton ripped the music off from to make that song. I don't know what that song's called. I don't really. It really bugs me that it's using Etta James's music and then putting somebody else's words over it. So I don't really listen to it that much, to be honest. I hear it every time I go out, but I kind of tune it out. The audience on stage that night was integrated. It was black and white. The lineup on stage was all black. But in 1960, a lot of white people had discovered black soul, blues, and rock and roll music, and realized that Elvis basically was kind of copying that, and they were kind of interested in where it had come from. So you had a lot of white people who wanted to go see these guys. The problem was, of course, there were people who didn't like that. So the show was stopped several times by people in the audience yelling things, basically telling the white people they shouldn't be there. They shouldn't be listening to black artists. But the show did go on. Now, they say that Jackie Wilson's tires were slashed. He had 2 flat tires after leaving Little Rock. And there are rumors that surround this to this day that Jesse Belvin's car was tinkered with. But Jesse made it from Little Rock to Hope here, which is, 100 miles probably, 120 miles. And then he made it 5 miles past here before what happened. And we'll get into it in a minute. But his tires may have blown. The police apparently at the scene said maybe his tires blew. It's hard to tell. Like I said, after the show, they all headed out. They had another show in Dallas. And back then there was no Interstate 30. The best route from Little Rock to Dallas was Highway 67, what they call the Rock and Roll Highway, because it was just traveled by everybody. Elvis, just a few miles from where the car wreck of Jesse Belvin's happened, was where Elvis in 1955, 5 years before, his Cadillac had burned down on the side of the road, and he was pretty distraught. But nothing compared to what happened to the Belvins. Anyway, they went towards Dallas. Like I said, Jackie Wilson had some car problems, but they got to Dallas, and he was expecting everybody else to be there, and the Belvins hadn't shown up. So he called Jesse's mother in Los Angeles, which is where they'd moved to. Jesse was born in Dallas, or not Dallas, but Texas. They'd moved to L.A., and he lived out there. And she hadn't heard from him. So He turned back around. Jackie Wilson did, and started coming this way. They were in a car crash 5 miles south of here. Jesse and Joanne, his wife, both died in the crash. The drivers of both cars had been killed instantly. Kurt Davis was Belvin's guitarist on the tour. He was asleep in the back seat. He was seriously injured, but eventually came out of his coma. Jesse, they figure he'd reached across to shield his wife from the worst of the accident, and she was unconscious but seriously injured. But yeah, Jesse was in it. They were in a Cadillac. They had a guy driving them, and I'll look his name up and try and include it in here. They think there's been speculation that his tires were messed with, but that was a long way from Little Rock for his tires to be messed with and still hold up. I think the driver may have fell asleep. They were going 80 some miles an hour, and the guy they hit head on, I'll look up his name too, was a diver who'd been on several diving expeditions and stuff that was pretty well known at the time also. So it's kind of a strange deal. But yeah, he crossed the Belvin's car crossed the center line and hit him head on. Killed 4 people, I believe, instantly. Jesse's wife was taken, and there's conflicting reports. Some say that she was taken to a hospital here in Hope. That seems more likely because it was closer. Other people say she was taken to Texarkana, but wherever it was, because of the time in 1960 and the color of her skin, she was not treated right away. Because they didn't think she had insurance or didn't, Jackie Wilson drove back from Dallas to if it was to Texarkana, that's at that time at least 3 hours. If it was to here, it's 3 or 4 hours, and she laid on a gurney. And he had to argue with them and prove that he could pay for treatment. She might have lived through the accident, but because of the time and people's thoughts and everything back then, she did not pull through. She finally got surgery and everything, but we're talking 6, 7, 8 hours after the accident. That's not good. It's a shame. The world, we live in a stupid world that judges people based on a lot of things that should not matter at all. Jesse Belvin's driver was a guy named Charles Shackelford. I had to look it up. And he got the job at the Belvins after being fired as Ray Charles' driver. And he was fired, according to Ray Charles, because he kept staying awake watching the late night shows, not getting enough sleep, and driving dangerously enough to scare Ray Charles, who was fearless enough that he used to ride motorbikes despite being totally blind. So yeah, and he was going 85 or 90, they said, when he had the wreck. So I'm going to assume he probably fell asleep or something, or a little too much. People in the music business, I've been in the music business myself, we like to party. We like to have fun, and we don't want to miss out on good times, But unfortunately, if you're the driver for somebody, you kind of have to. You should be sleeping up until you take off, as far as I see. Of course, because of the time, and I did extensive research on this, trying to find stuff. There's not much. Most of it was written, like I said, it was 65 years ago. Most of it was written much later. The police didn't really do an inquiry. They don't care. At the time, they didn't care, too much. It was an accident, as far as they were concerned. So there's all kinds of rumors of him being murdered by rivals, murdered by racists, murdered by people who just didn't like him. I personally don't think it was that. I think it was a horrible accident that happened. Could his car have been tinkered with? Yeah, his car could have been tinkered with, absolutely. I don't know. I have no answers. I wasn't even born yet. It was 7 years later before I was born. But all I know is the world lost a talent that day. And he was 27 years old. His wife was only, I think, 25. So he may honestly be one of the earliest members of what I call the 27 Club. The group, Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, they were all 27. Kurt Cobain, 27. I was a musician, and when I turned 27, I was a little scared. Then I realized I wasn't famous, so I probably didn't have to worry. Like I said, there's not a lot about it online as far as an investigation goes. This is the best that I could do as far as anything as a newspaper scan and photographs, and the photos are horrible. But if you look right there is a house, and I tried my best out there by the scene to find some house that looked like that. Of course, 65 years have passed, so the odds of that house even still being there are pretty slim. Anyway, I thought this was an interesting story. There's not much to show location-wise. I probably could have done this from home, but I kind of wanted to come down here to Hope because it seems to fit, to me, the feel of the time a little better. I mean, this place kind of looks like it's stuck in the 60s a little bit. So, and it's a pretty little town. See what I mean right here? And it is hot today, but man, beautiful blue skies. Just a pretty day to be out shooting a video about somebody that really should have had more time on this earth. He wrote some of the most beautiful songs. And if you go into my comments or into the description for this video, I'm going to put a playlist of his music, and you'll see. That's kind of cool. Hopefully you'll hear what I heard. He was a talent. He could croon with the best of them. He could sing down and dirty blues. Real good friends with Johnny Guitar Watson, who was a great blues guy. I've always been a big blues fan. If I have my choice to play any kind of music, that'd be it. I do like to kind of make it extreme. Everybody tells me I'm a little too pumped up and wild for blues, but I kind of think blues at the time, if you look at blues in the 50s and 60s and early 70s when it was coming out, it was some wild, pumped up music for the time. So I've always felt like I was just kind of carrying that forward a little bit, but blues purists do not agree with me. I can tell you that for sure. Hope is the home of the Hope Watermelon Festival, which is coming up, I believe, and the home of Clips Speakers, which is worldwide renowned. They have one of the best acoustic chambers where you can go in there, you can hear your heart beat. They say you can't stay in there for very long, you'll kind of go crazy because you hear the blood in your veins and everything. But yeah, he was quite the pioneer, no pun intended, of the speaker business right here in Hope, Arkansas. Still making speakers here. It's still world renowned. So. Foster Shoes. Man, you got to wonder how many people bought their shoes there. The stories, buildings. I believe buildings. I think they have a heart. They have a soul. Nice little park. Should have sat at that table and did my little deal, man. Anyway, Hope's a pretty town. It's a nice little place. Has its problems like everywhere else, but I always like it here. My good friends, I've played music with a few times, a guy named Dave Allman. Not Almond like the Allman Brothers. Not almond like the Allman Brothers, but almond like the snack is from here. And I believe he's on Spotify if you want to check out some Dave Allman music. He's a great songwriter from Hope, Arkansas. Of course, Trey Johnson, another friend of mine, is from here, and he's done a lot of music for TV shows and stuff, and just a great guy. Look at this. Front's gone off this building, so I wonder if this beam right here fell from up there. Nah, it couldn't be. But that's kind of cool. Anyway, I'm about to get in my car and see what, and I don't know if I'll stop, but I will at least pick the camera up as I'm driving through the area where that accident happened. Like I said, there's not much to see there. It's just a highway. And I couldn't match up any of those buildings, which are probably long gone. So I could put a picture up of any highway and you'd probably believe that was it, because it's really nondescript. But I will probably just pick the camera up as I'm driving and show you. What's going on. Anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching the videos. I'm doing pretty good. I'm liking being a YouTuber. Making a little man, I don't make enough. It costs me more to make these videos than I make, but it would be nice to make my living from this, but that's way in the future. unless you guys decide to share my videos, and hitting the like button helps a lot more than people think. YouTube sees that and sees that people like your stuff, and they start promoting you more. I don't do too bad for a small YouTuber. I do okay. I was really down on myself at one time, and I started studying up on it and reading some stats, and for the size my channel is and the amount of followers I have, I'm doing okay. So kind of happy about that, and that's because of you guys, because you guys watch my videos and you put up with my weird quirks and correct me when I'm wrong, which I'm fine with, you know. But anyway, if you like this and you're not a subscriber, subscribe. Hit that bell so that you know when I post something. I try and post something every week, but man, I'm horrible about it. I would like to post a lot more. But yeah, anyway, like I always say, guys, it costs nothing to be nice. Love your people, hug your people. You never know when that could be the last time you see somebody, you know. And I've learned that in my life too many times. So love your people and hug your people and try and enjoy life. It's short. It goes by quick, trust me. Anyway, after this there will probably be a little footage of me driving on the highway showing you, kind of close to where the accident was. And other than that, I'll see you in the next video. Or what Ted's saying.